you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beard Brigade. I'm John Solo. You are not. And today's a big show. I'm really looking forward to this. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of the guy. I'm having come on today and all that. And I flipped this picture up. He might not be able to see this. I don't know if he can or not on his screen in the guest room there. But I brought this old picture on just because I want to talk to him about it here in a little bit. You guys can see this here. We're going to discuss that picture in a bit. But first off, a couple show notes. This week is a big week for all of us because we have a new segment coming up this week. It's called the Ramblin' Gremlin. It's going to be airing on Thursday. Now, this is not a live segment. That may be discussed later. I'm not exactly sure. Right now, we're not going to be doing it live, but it's going to be a news segment that's going to feature our very own Lissa Gramling and myself, and we're going to be talking about the last week's audiobook releases. And hopefully you like it. I'm not going to prep it too awful much more than that or pump it, but you'll see it's going to be airing on Thursday. Then, of course, on Friday, we've got our normal story time segment, and on Sunday, I'll be back again for the morning coffee show. So that's what we got going on. Today, I'm working on Casey Wells's book, and for the life of me now, I'm gapping the name of the book. Dylan's Dilemma. Look there. It's in the ticker. It's Main in book 4. I know that. But also, as well, good Lord. If Casey Wells, if you are listening right now, you're going to have to calm down a little bit. I've said it before, fantastic author, but you have a dirty, filthy mind. I've never seen anything like it in my life. We lost 3 brigadiers today in the Discord crowd. They just dropped. There wasn't enough water to keep them cooled down. You have written some of the steamiest hot... Good Lord, girl. So be warned. Anyone that buys this book when it comes out, you're going to need to have a couple jugs of water, that sort of thing. Lissa Gramling ran out of battery. It was ridiculous. So anyways, just a little bit of fair warning there for that. Without any more silliness from me, that's what we got coming up this week. I'm going to bring on our guest for the day, our one of my favorite narrators out there. I bring you Greg Tremblay. Greg, how the hell are you, buddy?
Doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good. Yeah,
You like
that's an old picture you got tucked up in the corner. I could see it. Yeah, tucked up in the corner there.
I'm only going to keep this up here for...
I still got to give you the props too. But anybody that can open the show by saying, "Hey, you fucks," to everybody. I mean, what can I say?
At GRL, I had Kurt on the show at GRL this last GRL here, right? I did this crazy thing. I decided I was going to do Talk to the Beard episodes from my hotel room, and really it was my way of just hiding from people. It worked really well. And I was still able to have good one-on-one conversations, but I didn't have to circle as much because I'm as you know, I'm not a very social lad, as you can tell, obviously. So I hid in my hotel room, and I have Kurt up there, and Kurt brings his I forget the dude's name now. He had a newer narrator, a young guy with him, a super nice guy. He has him, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to bring this guy with me just so we can kind of watch the show." We actually ended up bringing him on, but as we intro the show, I see the look from Kurt. He makes eye contact with his buddy from across the hotel room. Just look at him as I say, "Hello, you fucks." And I see Kurt just starts smirking, making eye contact. Just like they've obviously talked about this too. They like he knows it's coming, and the guy wouldn't believe him. Like, I don't really know how it went, but yeah.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah, exactly. So the picture. I'm only going to leave this up here on the screen right now for a minute because I've got a couple questions. Okay, first off, now it's kind of harder to see because it's kind of cropped in a little bit. When you look at the full blown picture, there is like a Nokia phone from 1984 in the background, like this. It's obviously not a cell phone. I wanted to ask, what year was this picture taken? Do you remember?
2018.
No shit. You have it's like an old, now it's a wireless phone at least. It's not like, it's not like the rotary dial thing, but it is an older phone. Do you still have a landline in your booth sitting there? Is that what you got going on?
Well, it's actually, I mean, it's a voice over IP thing that's pretending to be a landline. That's just my house phone.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that one was basically that got put there at the time, particularly because my kid was in high school and I was occasionally getting calls about things that needed to get done. And instead of being like, I can vaguely hear a phone ringing in the house, I will get my ass up and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's a 5-head you know, cordless phone system and then the base stations
I
in my office. So
it
yeah.
fascinated me. I saw that. Well, especially in the last year. I don't know
All
what it
right. You're
is.
hitting the detail points here.
Well, I was looking at the picture and I was in. I blew it up. I blew up the picture because I was making a graphic of it. I talked about you on my morning coffee show on Sunday. I was like, Greg's coming on, so I was putting it into a like my Photoshop style program, and I'm editing it and all that. And I saw the phone, and I was like, oh my god, that thing! I bet you got speed dial on that thing. That thing's amazing. The other the other thing I want to talk about though, we call it here. It's my air conditioning system in the booth, right?
Yeah.
I finally built one in. It's actually this box right here back here. The baffles are covering the box that comes in with
Hmm.
the vents below it. And I installed this 2 years ago. And when I installed it, I made it myself and all that fun stuff. One of the fans ended up. I have these two pipes coming in up at the top that they're intake and outtake. They call them the glory holes. And that's the name of my air conditioning unit now to the
Okay.
world. We call them the glory holes.
Okay.
Now, behind your left shoulder here, you have
Yep.
the largest, most gaping glory hole I've ever seen in my life. It's amazing.
Well, I can tell you, it's definitely given me plenty of relief. And it's been extremely satisfying.
Yeah,
I mean, I've had it for years, and I really, it's a go-to for me. I really, I need that. It really, it's all about meeting needs, John. And that
I'm
one,
so jealous.
the nice thing too is I can reach out and I can fiddle with it a little bit and change how it's hanging and
It's got to be a little distracting in the middle of some. I mean, having something like that at your disposal at any time. I uh, I bow down to the master. I
well,
mean, you've been at
sometimes
this longer.
if it gets too strong, of course, if it's just too much action coming through, then of course you can hear it in the mic. So you have to be a little bit careful and make sure that it's not blowing too hard. Really, is of
So,
course the problem.
well, you probably have a control to get the dilation just right.
Oh yeah, yeah. And sometimes sometimes you just change position, and that's the biggest thing. So
I bow down to the master. I was looking today. I was like, I've been at this a while. How many books have I got out? And I've got it's like 250 somewhere in there that I got shown on Audible, and
heck yeah,
I got
man, nice
I got
job.
a few more than that. But then I was looking at you, and I was like, well, fuck, how many's Greg got? Greg Tremblay, 141. What? What is it? Oh, he goes under different names. So yeah, you've got like
Yeah,
400 books out at this point or something like that. I mean,
yeah,
for
yeah.
over
They're
400. I think
about
it's ridiculous.
they're about evenly split between Tremblay and Boudreau. There's
Yeah.
like I want to say there's like 270 under Tremblay and 180 or 90 or something, or I don't really remember. I haven't really looked in the recent history, but yeah, and the Tremblay Boudreau really thing came entirely about because initially I had some people that were they were upset when they got some of the books that I had done. Like I did some books for Reese Ford, and then they got some of the books that were just urban fantasies, right? There was no sex, and they were like, "Where's the sex? I don't understand." And people were like, "Oh, where's the sex scenes?" And I was like, That's not a sex scene book." Um, so the Boudreau line became a branding line, really more than anything else. It was like, my promise to people has been, you'll find good characters and solid writing, and it'll make you blush on the metro, right?
Hmm.
Like that's my stamp on that one. And indeed, I've done some recent books, in the romance genre that I've still put out under Tremblay because they just don't really have that much in the way of on-scene sex. There's like a little bit of kissing and there's some tension, and then we kind of, maybe we take our clothes off and then it's page turn. And I'm like, well,
Hmm.
cool. This is an awesome book. I'm really proud to do it. Doesn't belong under the Boudreau line. I can't guarantee it's going to make you blush on the metro. And again, I can't guarantee it will make all of you blush on the metro because some of us are simply inveterate perverts. But if but at least that's a handy shorthand to let you know that
You
you're in for some good sex scenes.
you're talking to the right crowd. They're,
Yes, I
they're,
I
they
have divined that, John. Yes.
um, it seems like you're doing a really good split right now of romance versus other stuff. I know that I
Yeah,
know
I'm
like
enjoying it.
yeah, I know like Reese and a couple others have kept you busy. You're doing what? Man, I forget that I'm totally
Megan
gapping the
Maslow?
name. Thank you very much. Those things seem to be huge right now. I see them popping on Facebook all
They're
over the place.
they're delightful, and they're so absurd, you know, and that's what makes them great, right? You know, Megan basically sat down and wrote, you know, a proudly queer, completely absurd Princess Bride-esque fantasy series, and it just keeps getting more delightfully absurd. You know, we just keep throwing more crazy shit in there, and
Hmm.
yeah, they're good fun.
Yeah,
They're good fun.
I see a lot of buzz about those. I had to, you did this, and I kind of took a as you know, I've learned a lot from you, man. I really appreciate it. But
Well,
your Facebook departure, and you've actually come back a little bit now into the social media again, which is awesome.
I have in a very, very small and careful way, but yeah, I mean, I've
Mhm.
got a little group. You know, anybody's, you know, you're certainly welcome to drop by. It's Backstage with Greg Tremblay, and it's really much more of a, you know, it's really envisioned as literally that, as a, you know, this is our performing house, but this is backstage time. You know, we're gonna hang out in the costume shop. We're gonna talk about the process. You can, you know, hang out, watch the makeup go on, and you know, and talk about whatever. So we do a number of different things. But yeah, I'm sorry, I tangented us
Mm.
a bit there, but yeah.
Please, I'm certainly not going to shut up the great Greg. But anyway, I took a page from that because after our last conversation, I realized that the social media thing, while it certainly helped my career, and I've met a lot of good friends and all that, at the same time, I was getting very consumed. And I was spending far too much time doing that and not enough time in front of the microphone, fucking doing what I'm supposed to do in the first place, which
Yeah, there's a lot
was a
of tension
problem.
there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tension there, and
I I had a hard
yeah.
time. So I backed off, and I had a good excuse over this last summer. I'm also I still run sound for I call it the family band. I don't know. I've been with them for 15 or 20 years now. I'm still as a sound
Okay.
engineer for them. They're the Marquee 66 or a 60s act that plays around Ohio, Michigan,
Okay. Fun.
Kentucky, Tennessee. It's a blast. I love them to death. But over the summer, we did because from 2020, that whole apocalyptic year where we couldn't play out at all. Suddenly, in 2021, we had a ton of gigs. I think we did 50 or 60 gigs this summer. It was a lot for a part-time band. So
That is a lot, yeah.
yeah, and I backed off of all of my live video work, and I backed off of hanging around in my group and other places around Facebook and everything else. And it was a nice little departure for me. I did a couple. I was still doing Talk to the Beards, but that was about it. And I found some balance. Thank
Yeah.
you for kind of. I was shocked at first. I was like, oh my God, Greg's backed off. What the hell's?
Yeah.
It made sense.
Well, I mean, you know, I would love to say it was a really, you know, conscious sort of, self-care business decision. You know, it was really just, losing my shit to a degree. 2020 was extremely, extremely horrible,
Yeah.
in so many ways. And yeah, I mean, I just really hit the point where I was like, I fucking can't, man. I can't do this. I don't have I don't have it in me. You know, I was barely able to really keep working, and I think you know, sometimes the benefit, right? The draw. It's a hard double-edged sword, right? You know, like the work requires emotional involvement and investment in order to do the craft, to engage with the characters, and sometimes that can be like, are you kidding me? I don't have that. Like, I don't have that in me today. How can I possibly give this work the emotional, you know, investment that it requires? And on the flip side of that, sometimes it's actually a pretty useful escape in terms of I'm overwhelmed. Everything is falling apart. Like, you know, not just in COVID, but in my personal life. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to not feel any of my feels today. I'm going to go feel other people's feels and just lose myself in that for a bit. So I was still able to do that enough, but I really just I didn't have the energy to, I didn't have the energy to engage disingenuously and pretend that everything was fine. And I didn't have the energy to engage genuinely and be like, here's everything that's terrible in my life. I was like, fuck it, I'm out, man. I'm out. I can't do this. So,
I think
but
it was smart. It was
survived
a
it,
beautiful move.
and it worked out okay. You know, I still have some corners of the social media world that you know, are really only populated by the people I know IRL and my family and those kinds of people. And I did still hang out there some, but I was glad to find the ability and some space in me to do, okay, what can I actually do on a weekly basis? What can I do to engage? What can I do to help bring people together? And so, what I'm doing is not a huge fire hose of information and content creation, but it's keeping me engaged with people a little bit, and that's good. So yeah,
Uh,
that worked out pretty well. But I'm glad you found some new balance for yourself too, and found some ways of kind of going forward that felt like they were good and that you could sustain. And yeah,
Well, so I actually, it's funny how the universe works. My editor that I was using on a very regular basis got a little backed up.
yep,
So much to the point where I had to find alternatives. And right at the same time that a lot of this was going down, and I tried a different strategy. So when I first started this years ago, I was running Falcon Sound Company, and we were doing live producing. So we would have a producer outside the booth, the narrator in the booth, and the producer would be correcting along the way. And then we would do an editing
hmm
pass after that with a proofing pass. I went to that kind of thing, but online. My lovely TNA, Tracy Johns, came in and started doing live proofing in Discord for me, which covered a lot of the proofing pass. Not all of it, but a lot of it.
yeah, yeah.
It
No, you
cut,
still occasionally hit something that,
yeah, and
yeah,
actually, an editing pass and positron filled in the gaps.
yep,
So I still do an editing pass, and I run it through positron to catch anything that we missed proofing wise. And it's been a beautiful solution. So I then had this person at, how would I say it, my disposal. This person that's now working for me. And the other reason I had brought her on was to help with Talk to the Beard episodes. I couldn't
hmm
handle it anymore. I couldn't handle the booking of the guests and all that fun stuff. This has kind of taken on a life of its own. It's a thing that's not as much. It's not just mine anymore now, man. This is a community
mm,
thing, and a lot of people watch this, and a lot of people enjoy it. So I didn't want to stop it. I just didn't have enough spoons. I couldn't do it. So Trace took on booking this. Then Trace kind of took on keeping an eye on all the other social media because I was like, I can't take this. I'm tapping out.
yeah,
I got all these gigs, and I'm going to slow down on the videos, and you just watch everything for me. I mean, you mind the store while I do this thing over the summer, and she's just done a fantastic job. It's been amazing. Now I'm getting back into it a little bit. I'm not so much. I'm not tapping into Facebook on a daily basis. I took it off my phone, which was a beautiful thing for an addict like me. But
hmm
I'm doing videos several times a week again, and it's been absolutely wonderful. I'm enjoying it a lot,
nice,
but I don't have to
nice,
surf
super.
through anymore and look at that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It can get a little much. I actually I keep I have tried a number of times to see if I could, get a production and executive assistant in
Mhm.
to the gig, and I don't know if I don't know if I'm just too confusing to work for, or if I'm just not, I don't know. We haven't pulled it off yet. Worked, tried with a few people, and we just haven't found them, like, you know,
Mhm.
I don't know what the
I
what the on ramp was. So that's a piece where I'm still, someday I kind of would love to have that, somebody that can help take on a number of the keeping all of the I's
I
crossed
got
and the T's dotted. But
I got lucky on my
yeah,
first
it's
swing.
tricky. It's
Yeah,
tricky. It's
and
like,
this Tracy was already doing a lot of these. She was already a part of the community anyways. When I started streaming
yeah,
on Discord, she was already there every day hanging out. And
yep,
um,
yep.
the turning point, I worked on this series by Tal Bauer, fantastic fucking author, by the way.
Okay.
And it was there was a lot of stuff that made me. I took on the series because it made me very uncomfortable. There was
Okay.
have you ever taken on a project just because you knew it was so challenging that you didn't know if you could pull it off or not? I don't know if you do that sort of thing. Um, this was mine.
Uh,
I took it was
Maybe.
like
Yeah.
the great white whale. I didn't know if I could do it. I thought it was just
Okay.
beyond the edge of my ability. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of foreign accents, a ton of foreign words. I actually had to hire a researcher. First time I'd ever had
Yeah.
to do that before, and Tracy's in the background during this on Discord, and I'm messing up an Arabic word. The researcher had done the research. I had an audio example, and I was still fucking it up. And she was like, "Hey, can I turn on the microphone?" Yeah. And she jumped on and nailed it and walked me through how to say it. That was the beginning of a wonderful relationship. Through the rest of the series,
Interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and she just
Yeah.
kind of started doing the job.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Discord for me has almost entirely been about, my hobbies and personal interactions. I haven't really engaged in the audio community on Discord, per se. So, but I do like it. It keeps me in touch with sailing people and, my various friends in medieval reenacting and all the other nerdy ass things that I do. So, it's nice just to be able to do that kind of stuff. But
Wait, medieval reenacting is nerdy? I'm fucked. My Ren Fair geekiness. Are you still doing the blacksmithing thing? Are you still working on anything at all with that?
I do some. Right at the moment, everything is right. Everything right now is in service of getting my life shifted over into the next stages. 2019, 2020, I went through a divorce.
Hmm.
And in the succeeding times, what I've been doing is, getting my kid off to college and getting stuff kind of wound down. And right now I am packing my entire house slowly, bit by bit, and doing all the things to get it ready for sale and getting ready to head back northeast to the Boston, South Portland, Maine corridor. So all of the blacksmithing stuff is pretty much set aside to go and get moved up to South Portland, and I haven't picked it up recently, but it is still a thing. It's still a thing that I do. Yeah,
That's
I have
excellent.
a partner I keep meaning to do a little crafting project for that maybe I should do before I put the last of it in the trailer. But
It's fascinating to me, but I'm not. I have a brother that is a leather worker. He does all the leather work for
oh
our
yeah,
Ren Fair stuff, and he's made
yeah, nice.
several suits of leather armor. And he got into chainmail a little bit, which
Yeah,
that's a whole other. I don't know if that counts as blacksmithing or not. I'm not sure that it does.
no,
There's a,
it's armoring. It's
yeah,
whatever.
little tiny rings are a pain in the ass, is what they are. You
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
That was his was sitting there watching TV, and we're going to make some chainmail. That was you don't go over to
Yep,
Bill's house
yep.
and sit there and watch TV because he'll put you to work. But yeah, it made some incredible costumes. So
Yeah.
I did not do a Ren Fair this year. Did you get the opportunity to go to any one, or are you going out at all yet, or no?
So the majority of what I do is the SCA,
Yeah,
Society for Creative Anachronisms group. We have had a couple of in-person events. It's been tricky. We've been waiting on a number of things, but we've had a couple of the outside in-person events throughout the summer and the early part of the fall. We're back pretty much now to kind of not doing a whole lot in the way of the bigger events, but also a
yeah.
fair amount of fencing. So I study period Italian rapier fencing, and
Mhm.
we've done some good get-togethers of that. I went to one called Iron Gate Exchange, or I'm sorry, Iron Gate exhibition up in New Hampshire a couple of months ago, and that was an awesome time. It was just a really excellent. Lots of good fighting. It's kind of a mix of SCA and HEMA people. So HEMA's do a lot more some historical um, um, European martial arts. And lot of the HEMA people do more longsword kind of stuff, which I'm not currently doing. But there were plenty of rapier people. We got lots of good sparring in and good learning and all sorts of good stuff. So yeah, we've been doing some good things. Just not the ones that we would have really loved to do. We didn't have our big multi-thousand person event this summer, and we're really knocking on wood that next summer it'll be back. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
it looks like everything's gonna be rolling back around. I don't. I told you I had a guy from Australia on last week, and he was saying that they are
Yeah.
still not completely locked down, but they're not allowed to leave their state yet.
Yeah.
Still that lockdown. It's
Yeah,
it's
well,
good.
and parts of Germany and a chunk of Eastern Europe are just on a huge resurgence again. So,
Hmm.
I don't know what it's going to be next year. We're going to find out. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I am nominally scheduled to go to Edinburgh, Scotland in the spring for a reader and author event and be there as a narrator guest. And I'm really, really hoping that that works out.
Mm-hmm.
I also will be able to see some narrator family of mine that are in London and have been living in Sydney for a while, so I haven't seen them in a while. So I'm really just I'm hoping that by April, May, we're in an okay place still. It would be great if we were in a better spot than we are now.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see where it gets. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I cannot I can't handle eating in restaurants right now. I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't. I can't relax.
Mm-hmm.
It's still enough of a risk, and I'm still enough of that person that's like, "God, I'm trying to, do this for everybody so that we can make everything as safe as possible." And I'm like, I can't. I just freaking can't. And that's getting really hard here in the Northeast right now because we have just passed the end of eating outdoors time. And that was kind of the only thing that I felt okay pulling off was sitting and eating outdoors. But I've got like an inch of snow in my yard right now that landed
Mm-hmm.
today. And that's the end of eating on the patio. So now I got to figure out what the hell I'm doing from there. Thankfully, at
Oh.
least, this year, as opposed to last fall, I can have people over, that I know. I don't feel like I'm quite as locked down. But,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, it's still a thing. So
Well, just
see
like
how
the
that all
glory
goes.
holes, you had to get bigger with the snow too. We only got a half inch, damn it. And it
Oh,
was,
see, there you go.
yeah, it was incredible
I live
too. By
way
the
up
way.
on a little hill though that's like right in it's like two hills over from me is the local ski area. So I'm in a little snow belt. It doesn't really
Yeah,
count quite the same way.
I can't wait. I got into the Jeeping thing in the last year, and I've got the
Oh
off-roading
yeah?
deal going on, and
There you go.
I ate it up. I've never done anything like that before, dude. And I was imagine me addicted from the beginning. I don't do anything half-assed. It's all in or nothing, but I was all
Mhm.
in. So I can't wait. Bring the snow on. I want it more. But so the Scotland thing, is that Glow? Is that what you're going to, the convention? I think that's the name of
No,
it,
what is
isn't
it?
it?
No,
'Cause
there's
they reached out to me about one in Scotland in the spring, and then the other option was in Australia for 2023, and I opted for Australia. I wanted to do the Scotland thing. I just can't afford to hit that one this year.
yeah, it's not Glow. What is it called?
I Yeah, I can't think
Yeah,
Ava
it's
was
it's like
one of the
author and reader. I don't remember.
mm,
I'm just blanking on that.
rare. They're saying
Rare,
rare is
yes,
what it
reader
is.
and
Yeah, yeah.
author. Yep, yep.
Yep. It looked like I really want to do it. I have a couple different narrator friends in Scotland, and of course, you can hit England. You can just pop right over. And I've never been to England. I've
Yep,
never been to Scotland.
yep,
It looked like a
yep.
ton of fun. I'm jealous, man. You get to do something
Yeah,
once
I
again that I really
ideally, if
want.
it all works out, what I'm really hoping is I'm gonna go out, like, 2 weeks before it, see my friend in London for a while. One of my partners may fly out and meet me, and then we'll go up together to Edinburgh and do the thing. And then obviously I'm not just going to be like, well, 3 days in Edinburgh while I'm doing the event. All right, I'm out. Like, no,
Yeah,
dude, I've flown all the way to Scotland. We're gonna milk
yeah.
this for at least another week. So, I'd like to take those, 3 or 4 weeks and get up in there and do that.
Well,
I'm
you're gonna
really,
fit right in. You got the
I'm gonna,
kilt and everything.
I'm gonna try to take some extended time off this um, spring, summer time. I'm going to try to take a couple of months and set stuff aside just because it's just been nonstop. It's just been, so much for the last 2 years, and I'll be done, by then packing and moving and selling and all that crap. And I'm like, I could really use the time to just
Hmm.
GTFO and step off for a little bit. So
How?
here's hoping.
eh,
That's the plan.
Well, how are you? This is a completely different topic change, but I've been wanting to ask you this. I was going to do it off air, but I think it's probably cool to do this on air. Um, I've been running into a struggle balancing, and I think it may have taken care of itself, but balancing pub and indie. So there's a
Yeah.
thing that happens with the pub stuff where there are deadlines, a little bit harder of a deadline than indie stuff.
Yeah.
And I
The,
actually
the
thought of you a
I think
few
the
months ago
the
when I
bigger
was trying to
the bigger
juggle that.
problem for me with the pubs is the lead time, where it's
Hmm.
like, "Hey, we need this, 3 weeks from now." You're like, "Good Jesus Christ, man." But
Yeah,
yeah, anyway. Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm. So with an indie project, oftentimes, I mean, don't get me wrong, they need their stuff, but it's a little easier
Yeah,
to say
yeah,
to them and a little less pressure to say to them, you know what, I'm going to need an extra 4 days or whatever the case may be. Whereas it's a
yeah,
little bit more nerve wracking to do that with a pub. You can, but the pub
yeah,
represents,
yeah.
I don't know,
I
am I
mean,
looking
and
at that wrong?
I've gotten very comfortable with telling any of the impending clients, really frankly, like, yeah, I would love to do this project. This is when I can fit it in.
Hmm.
This is when I've currently got an opening, and it doesn't always work, right? Sometimes it's like, I was hoping for it sooner than that. Like, yeah, no harm, like, totally legit, and best of luck with it. I just literally can't do that until X, Y, or Z.
Hmm.
Um, some of and I will say, really, these are more the production houses than the publishers. I'm not really doing much work for the publishers right now, direct. I'm not. I haven't done a direct gig for like Hachette or HarperCollins in a while.
Hmm.
So most of it's through the production houses that are doing the secondary titles. Um, it's been kind of a mix. Sometimes they're like, "Hey, there's this project, and we need it by X. Can you do it?" And I'm like, "I can't." Or, "Oh God, that sounds like an amazing project. I wonder if I can squeeze it in." And some of them, where they're like, "Hey, we've got these next 2 books in this series coming along, when," and the nice thing is now they're like, "When could you do that?" And with a couple of them, I've had to be like, "Legitimately, I know that I can do that by the 1st of May, and
Hmm.
that's the date I'm actually giving you, like, because 'cause I've just got stuff, and and I need to leave some room for moving and not knowing exactly when that's gonna happen and how that's gonna shake out." So, um but, and the same with some of the indie authors, where I'm like, "I would love to do this project, and this is when I can do it."
Hmm.
Um, and, the indie authors as well, some of them are like, "Yeah, no, no worries, no worries," and some of them are like, "Oh, well, I guess if we have to," and some of them are like, Yeah, no, I needed it sooner than that." I'm like, "Yeah, it's cool." Like, I can do what I can do, and
Yeah, I'm
that
trying
became a lot
to,
more comfortable.
I'm I'm not necessarily, and I guess I am talking about the production houses as well. I haven't done any work truly for a large pub. I haven't worked for Random House or anything like that. I'm not fucking Greg Tremblay. I haven't done like Disney
No,
or anything like that.
I have not worked for
Um,
PRH. I have never worked for Penguin Random House, and you
well,
know,
but
Universe, it'll be okay though, you know?
I'm doing my best. There's like this strategy I've been taking recently of only booking myself a couple few months out as opposed to 6 months out, which is just it seems to take a little bit of a load off of. It's a mental thing. It just
Mhm.
seems to take a little. You would think it would be the opposite. You would think it would be I got to book this work out so I know I can eat. But I've been at this long enough. The work's it keeps coming in. You know,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
ran into a time yet where I didn't have a project to work on. So
yeah,
I'm just booking out for a couple few months, and that's now put me in this dilemma of sorry I can't do this. And I think it might have bit me in the
yeah,
ass once so far with one of the production houses. We shall see. Um, but
yeah.
yeah, you have managed this for a long time. I figured I'd get your advice. It sounds to me like what you're saying is just tell the people honestly what you can freaking do, and if they can't do it, they can't do it. Probably great advice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the only thing that gets really kinda tricky is, like, I know, for example, that, Neil Shusterman, who wrote the Arc of a Scythe trilogy, is doing a book of short stories that's coming out, I think, 2nd quarter of 2022,
Mm,
and I would love to do that book. And I know that I'm not gonna get the call on it until, like, 3 weeks before they want it. They're just gonna, like, drop it on me and be like, "Hey, here's a new book for you." So I know that if I wanna do that book and I wanna make sure that I can do that book, I need to kinda keep in touch with the author and figure out when things are going, and I need to build in a whatever it's gonna be, a 16-hour space that I can just let slide as I'm waiting for it to come in.
mhm,
And that frustrates me a little bit because I know that the production house that, you know, there's probably gonna be it's not really their fault. I mean, I don't wanna kinda I don't wanna slag on them in terms of being like, "Well, they just, just call me at the last minute." Like, they probably just get it, and then they're like, "Oh, crap, okay." And then they have to go through the process of, well, who's gonna be the executive producer? Who's gonna be the line producer on this? Who's gonna be the engineer? Cool. Now that we actually have the project put together, it's been 3 weeks that we've been doing that, who's gonna be the narrator for it? Oh, look, it's actually gonna be this person that's already done it. Well, great, shoot them an email and let them know. And now, we've burned understandably 3.5, 4 weeks, and they only had like a 7 or 8 week lead time in the first place. So now it really is a, hey, Greg, here's the book, and we need it by, December 28th. And I'm going, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah,
and
and
I,
just the
like I
physical
don't,
time in your booth is
yeah,
that,
right.
let
There's
alone
just
prep
no, I
and
mean, there's,
everything
there's
else.
only so much that you can do. There
Yeah.
just is. And I, some days, some weeks I push it really, really hard. Some weeks I'm like, I just need to get in here and I need to get 4.5 hours of finished audio a day done and not my
Hmm.
usual 3 or 2.5. And those are hard days, man. Those are days that you just hit the end of it and you're like face first into a pillow because your brain feels like it's just been pushed through a, food sieve. You're like, and it is weird because it's like you're just reading, but you're not just reading. And so there's just a lot of engagement, a lot of processing, a lot of mental adaptation that's going on, a lot of voices and characters and emotions and stuff. And it's all the same amount of hard in different ways. I mean, like the nonfiction stuff where you're just trying to nail all the terms and get all the words and get it down and get the enthusiasm of the author who is a nerd about their subject, and that's amazing and that's awesome to invoke, but it's really tiring. Where the really intense emotional scenes where you're like, oh my god, I need a bath and a drink and a hug and a nap. um yeah. So yeah, those long days are really grueling sometimes, and you can only keep them up so long. You just can't do them forever. And honestly, I think like so many of us in every different sector, I'm fucking exhausted from the last year and a half. Um, just living with the constant uncertainty, the constant isolation, the figuring it out, the emotional trauma of watching people die, and the reality of the economic and labor sector is not just that we have an inflation system that is untethered from a cost of living and is largely profit driven, and people aren't making enough and are not making enough to make rent. It's that, and also everyone is freaking exhausted. We've just been bent, folded, spindled, and mutilated, and it doesn't matter what area you're working in. We're all just psycho-emotionally tired, and I'm tired. I've got some had some weeks recently where I'm just like, I can't do this week. Like I cannot do this full bore production this week. And then, it backs up and I've just got to then buckle down and work the whole weekend and do those long days to get it done. But it's a lot. It's a lot. And I'm I'm pretty crispied. And a lot of people I
I
know are too.
I love how you described. I've talked to a couple of us now. And there's only maybe I realize there's I don't know how many narrators are in the world at this point. Maybe 10,000. I don't know. As far as people that do what me and you do in this genre, there's about 100. There aren't that many of us that really do what we do the way we do it. It's I'm not saying that it's any more
Yeah,
special
no, I
than
mean, I think,
anything else. There's just not
yeah.
that many people that get this. That there are not many people that like I can talk to that understand. If you're in a booth narrating like we do for, let's say, 6 hours of real time, that's going to produce
Yep.
at most, if you are the god that day, 4 hours of finished audio, and that is fucking lucky. For me,
Yeah,
it's
that's
probably closer to
that's
three.
that's smoking. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere, yeah, in the 3. That's, I certainly I put my money on the 2-to-1
Yep.
block because I know that that's gonna be where I can hit. Anything more than that is gravy, and it's hard. That is
Yeah.
screaming along. Sometimes it's just perfect, everything's perfectly edited, and you're just in the groove, and you have no distractions, and you stand up at the end of the day, and you're like, "What the fuck? I just did that much audio? No wonder I'm tired." But yeah, no, I agree. So,
Well,
yeah, but
so
you're
it
there for
sounds
6
like,
hours and
let's say 6 hours compared to, we both work day jobs in our lives. Compared to that, where
yeah,
you have to sit at a desk for 8 or 9 hours, you would think six, but there's such a hyper focus that is involved, such an intensity of using your mind where you're not off. at any,
I
you
think
are on.
the
Go ahead.
only thing I really miss about office life is the ability to phone it in at times. You know, the ability to fuck off on
At
Facebook and
times.
Discord
Yeah.
from time to time, and, you know, or to really, like, multitask. Like, you know, you're like, "Ah, yeah, I'm cleaning up this database, but I'm also chatting on Discord or, you know, Hangouts or whatever." And it just doesn't work. You know, you
Yeah.
just can't. I mean, I have a certain number of tabs of communication open with my, you know, close people that I do, you know, chat with throughout the day because it gets a little lonely in the padded
Mhm.
cell. But yeah, man, you just can't. You can't just go off on a tangent and, you know, watch the latest video and read the news headlines and that part I miss. You know, actually, I take that back. I miss that, and I also do a little bit miss the sort of team camaraderie. Because even with our production teams, it's not usually quite that. You know, like if we're
Mhm.
working for a production house, it's not like you and the proofers and the producer chat. You know, it's just an email exchange, and you go off and do your own thing. So I miss that a little bit. You know, I miss the, you know, you want to go and grab lunch kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah. Well, we
I'm
have
looking
that
forward to
going
trying to
on in,
do some more live theater soon, but because I
you
miss
should,
that.
well, you should do that. You should come over to Discord sometime and look and see what we're doing. I don't want to put any pressure on you. Come over and record. That's a lot of us have been doing our sessions there every day for a while, and there is a bit of a community involved.
Hmm.
And I want to make it clear too. Um, I'm not pretending for a second that people with office jobs and that sort of thing don't work every bit as fucking hard as we do, because that's just not true.
Oh, no, totally.
Well, yeah,
Totally, it's just
what
different. It's just different.
it's
Yeah,
condensed. My 8, 9,
yeah,
10 hour condensed day is like all condensed into this right here, into like a 4 to 6
yeah,
hour booth time. And at the
yeah.
end of that, you are fucking mental toast. You're drained. You're done.
It's really full bore. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I mean,
grueling.
it's most similar to when I was a paramedic, honestly,
Uh,
because there would be days that there was no break. You know, you just worked a 12-hour shift and you worked every licking second of it. And, you know, by the time you were done, you're like, "I don't even know if I can drive home." You know, I am that completely plowed. You know, and sometimes we'd sit around the bunk room and watch television, so, you know, it
mm,
was that you could phone it in sometimes, but it was totally spread out, you know, and so that's its own thing too, but yeah. No, I mean, jobs are jobs, right? You know, and even the great
mhm.
jobs, like the ones that we have, are hard in their own way, and, you know, that's why the great elusive, Shangri-La that is work-life balance is so important, and it's a moving target that you're always gonna chase like it's a, you know, fairy through the woods. It's like, "Where's work-life balance? It's over there! Quick, after it!"
Well, and
But
I can't, I have to have a work like this where I am. We talked a couple of years ago at GRL about the craft and how I wanted to take some
yeah,
coaching at the time. I was wanting to grow as an actor. I came into this as an audio
yeah.
engineer. I didn't have that acting background, and I wanted to grow. It seems like every few steps forward that I take as an actor and grow, and I've made a lot of progress in the last couple of years. There's never an end. There's never a you've learned
No,
it
no,
ever.
that's a that's a pursuit, not a goal, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
you will always pursue acting, you will never catch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in another 20 years, if I keep practicing, I might start to get halfway decent at it. It's one of those
Well,
kind
you
of
you reach
things, you know?
Yeah, I think you reach a point where you can start ambling after it, you know, but again, you know, humans are pursuit predators, so just, you know, was my favorite recent meme was don't chase your dreams because humans are pursuit predators. Just slowly and inexorably follow your dreams until they get tired and lie down.
Never run from an immortal. They'll see you. Um,
Right.
Dude, you've been wonderful, as always. I could talk
Great
with
to
you
be
for
here.
hours on end. One thing I'm going to ask is I've kind of been locked in on you this whole time. I've not paid much attention at all, guys, to the comments. I'm so sorry. I love you, but I've just kind of flashed my eyes over there occasionally. I'm just like locked in. So if you could look at the comments at some point in the next couple days and respond to a few of them, that'd be freaking awesome. Past that,
Sure, you
um,
not just yeah, I have to,
y-
um
yeah, yeah, we'll actually get you into the group and everything. It'll be awesome.
yeah, I was gonna say, I'm not even sure I'm in the group, so we'd have to fix that, but yeah.
Greg Tremblay pimping along. Um, you gotta like. I have seen 3 people ask now. What are you working on currently?
Oh, let's say I just finished what is actually the record of the longest book to date. It's a 32-hour fantasy called The Darkest Dawn,
Damn.
and that is now off with Podium for corrections, which I did have to tell them when I set it up. Is like just so we're clear on the 32-hour book, I'm gonna need a few more days than usual to do all the corrections, right? Because there's gonna be like 800 of them. So
Yeah.
just we'll just tackle it a bit at a time. Currently, I'm working on Alice Winter's um, Ghost of Lies, which is
Mhm.
the first in a medium mystery series, and that's going along really well. So just sort
Excellent.
of uh, kick along with that, and
I
yeah.
I felt so bad. Have you met Alice in person at all?
I
Um,
have not met. Well, no, I think we did meet at a GRL at a one of the professional meetups, but very very briefly. So we've talked over Facebook and we haven't really hung out in person. But
well, so I met her at GRL, and she is just like the nicest. She's very quiet, very unassuming, very sweet person. And we've been wanting to get her on Talk to the Beard for a while. To be honest, Alice is not a very, this is not really her style of thing to do.
mhm,
And
mhm.
I had maybe 10 minutes of meeting her, and I felt so bad because I was like, look, everybody would love to have you on. If you could just come on. She said, it's not really my type of thing. I said, well, it's just like us talking, like here. I walked away from the conversation and felt like maybe I'd hardcore pressed her or something. Because she's got her little tiny like Toto style dog in her hands, and she looked a little scared and frightened of me, and I can be a bit overbearing to begin with. And I walked away, and I need to reach out to her and just tell her, dude, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to like pressure you in any. So yeah, you brought up her name, and I thought, man, I'd love to have her on, but I don't think this is not. Alice Winters is a huge deal without Talk to the Beard. I think she'll be just fine. She doesn't need
Yep.
any. There's no.
You know,
Yeah.
and she might be very happy to do a live Discord AMA with you or something. Where she's just not
Yeah.
on camera. So yeah,
Yeah, it wasn't
but
really her style, but for the love of God, Alice, if you ever
yeah,
see this, you were so nice. Thank you so much. I appreciate
yeah.
it. Anyways, this is the fun part. I made an outro video as well for this, Greg. So all you got to
You
do
made
is
an
you got
outro.
to,
Of course
yeah,
you did.
yeah, you got to wave bye to the camera. See y'all, have fun. I'll see you on Friday.